A few hours after the Ayatollah had issued his fatwa, Pope Phillips issued an encyclical that seemed to be saying in the politest language possible that Edgar ought to be burned at the stake. The Patriarch of Constantinople called Edgar an arsehole. At roughly the same time, the third massive digging machine was finished. Amid very high security, Edgar named it Mohammed. Specially built barges then transported Mohammed to what had formerly been part of Chile. There it began digging, as the other two machines were, a series of interconnected kilometre-wide trenches. Edgar appeared on Who Knows TV and begged his viewers to keep sending in their money, to keep betting on their religious convictions. Edgar gave his last remaining appearances on Who Knows TV everything he had. Perhaps he suspected that the whole thing was about to come to an end. He was just wonderful to watch, jumping around, laughing, clenching his fists, sweating, swearing, dribbling, moaning, pleading. He broke down and cried live on a number of occasions. It was wonderful TV. Millions and millions of pounds kept pouring in to Scepticism Inc. Edgar raved on and on every night, criticising the world's religious leaders for banning metaphysical betting. He said he couldn't see why they would even consider doing such a thing, unless, of course, they didn't believe the nutty stuff they went on about as much as they made out. What are you to think of priests who don't put a single penny of their own money on the nonsense they peddle, but expect you to make contributions every single Sunday? Edgar asked his audience as he relaxed on the couch covered in question marks, sipping from a cup of tea. You know what I would say, if I were you, said Edgar, peering at the camera. Next time you see a priest, I'd say this. Put your goddamn money where your metaphysics are! Edgar threw his cup of tea at the camera. Then he jumped up and shook the camera, shouting for his audience to wake up. Scepticism Inc. launched a worldwide advertising campaign to combat the bad press it was getting from those religious leaders still in business. The posters said this. How do you know God doesn't want you to bet? And go on, for God's sake, bet. Many of the thousands of posters were vandalised as soon as they were put up, but the message got through. The number of bets rose. On the 25th of October, 3 employees of Scepticism Inc. were killed when a car bomb went off outside a metaphysical betting shop in Swindon. On the 27th, a Scepticism Inc. employee was seriously injured when a follower of Sophia Alderson stabbed her while pretending to place a bet. The next day, a follower of Sophia Alderson gunned down 4 lost ones queuing outside a betting shop in Leeds in an attempt to save their souls. Drive-by shooting of betting shops occurred in Los Angeles every 5 minutes. Such events forced Edgar to increase security yet again. Electrified fences were erected around betting shops and patrolled by guard dogs. On the 28th, a betting shop in New York was blown sky high when a suicide bomber drove a truck laden with explosives into the building. 25 members of staff and over 50 nuts were killed. Eyewitnesses reported that the suicide bomber was smiling when he drove into the building. 48 extremist religious groups from every remaining major religion on the planet claimed responsibility. Edgar flew to New York to supervise the funerals and the rebuilding work. He then flew to the Sahara to inspect the work of the first digging machine, Moses. Moses had excavated 270 million square meters of land. Mosey's handiwork was visible from space. Things were coming along nicely.